recording. Alright, should be recording. So before you start, go a little lower. So you have, right?
Oh.
So, Michael and I, we met through an InterVarsity graduate Christian fellowship meeting, and I immediately knew that I liked him. So.
I showed up to the village in August of 2005. I know because my roommate Ron and I had just moved to town, and we had moved in a roundabout way, sort of, from San Luis Obispo, California. And we already knew someone who was attending the church, maybe a couple people actually at the time. And Hannah Weavedo was one of them, and she specifically invited us. And I remember talking to her on the phone about it. And she said, this church is really weird, but it's great. I love it. It's so real. Preaches the gospel in this unique way. And you guys should totally come check it out. It was weird. There was like black curtains that were put up on these temporary frames in another church's physical building, like the multi-purpose room. And there was giant candles and all kinds of like things to make it dark and moody and angsty. and that was a lot of the tenor of the church and the service, but it was a bunch of people who we could have really in-depth conversations with and share our lives with right away. So much so that we invited the whole church to our birthday party in September, and we felt like we really knew these people after just a month of interacting with them, and a whole lot of them came, which was fun, and we felt really welcomed and invited.
And so I started going to a philosophy group because I liked him. And we started spending some more time together, and we went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and one of the things you do up there is you go skiing. So I can't remember who suggested it, but we decided to go skiing one day. And we took my little 2007 Ford Focus. It did have snow tires.
Honda Civic.
No, the Honda Civic, yeah. I'm thinking of the wrong car. But that's what I drive now. But my Honda Civic, I did have snow tires, but we decided to go up to a resort that's pretty close to, a ski resort that's pretty close to Boulder. It's about, what would you say, half hour, 45 minutes if there's
no problems, yeah.
There's no problems, but that day, do you remember what
the road got closed, and so you couldn't go to the ski resort, and we were already it was already mid-afternoon almost by the time we were getting going.
It was probably around 1 maybe.
Because we left after church, and so we were hoping to get the second half, the afternoon ski time, and which was possible because it was supposed to be a pretty short trip up there. But then we were told there was this giant car accident, or huge truck had flipped over or something.
Exploded. It was a whole thing. And so we're like, oh, we'll just take the back road. Pretty much as soon as I met Michael, he started telling me about this great church that he was a part of in Tucson, because I had been sharing with him that I didn't grow up in a Christian household, and my family was loosely Christian, but it wasn't something that we didn't regularly attend church. And then I stopped going altogether as I got older. And then in college, I had a really intense sort of evangelical experience, which was really good for a couple years. But then that wave kind of died off, and I felt kind of lost. And I had been looking for churches for a really long time, for a few years at that point, and had not really found one that it felt like home. I didn't have to be someone I wasn't. And Michael told me all about the village. And
at the end of my undergraduate, I was studying at the U of A. I was studying philosophy for my bachelor's degree, and I had a really tough time writing, and I still do when something's really momentous and it means a lot. And I had spiraled out of control into anxiety and depression, and I was to the point where I was unable to leave my room, and I had been hiding out and not interacting with anyone that I knew. And but I had gotten to know Eric, our pastor, really well because he had been coming over to our house almost every week for like 2 years at that point. And I had my roommate Ron, who's a part of the church as well, and I called Eric and said what was going on, and he said, "You need to come live with me while you get, and we'll take care of you and we'll get you through this." And so, and I said, I can't even get to your house. I can't do that. So he told me to tell Ron, and Ron brought me out of the room and put me in his truck, and I went and lived with the Seepens and the Brunsons for about 2 weeks or so while I was finishing my bachelor's degree. And they really pulled me through and carried me to Jesus and prayed for me and just took care of my physical and spiritual needs in all kinds of ways. And I was able to graduate.
So we took the back roads, which took twice the amount of time or more than it should have. And I think, did we even get there that way?
We did.
Yeah, okay.
We did. We
By
got
the time
there.
but there was a couple of places where we were like in the middle of a snowy field.
Yeah, we're like, this can't be right. This is not normal. We're going up a steep hill again in the Honda Civic.
Right. So we eventually got there just in time for it to be closed.
Or it was about to close. It was
Right.
about to, the lift stopped at 4.
So we never did go skiing that day.
No, and so, but we did, while we had a lot of time in the car together, we had our pack of CDs. This was back in 2010 before streaming music. So we had our pack of CDs, and we were listening to a lot of Death Cab for Cutie and other artists that we both ended up realizing that we both really liked. And it was very beautiful. I mean, it was snowy, and I think it probably took us an hour and a half to get up there, and maybe an hour and a half to get back.
Right, because we couldn't take the same road
back
either, so we had to go a third way.
We went the other way around because we were like, well, maybe it won't be as dangerous as the way we had gone up. And it was still long. I don't remember it being as precarious, but
it took a really long time. So we spent maybe a total of 4 hours in the car together.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to spend about
30 minutes up
30
and back. 30 minutes up.
An hour total in the car together.
Yeah.
In the intention, the initial plan, and then we would have been skiing and sort of not really conversing because you're skiing. And so we spent a lot of time talking and a lot of time listening to music.
Yeah, and so it was definitely a pivotal moment because we really got to know each other, and it wasn't too long after that we started officially dating. But it was just a really, something happened for a reason. We didn't. We weren't supposed to ski that day, I don't think, but we did get to spend a lot of quality time together, getting to know each other, and really, appreciating the quirkiness and the weird bits about one another that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise talked about. So it was a really special time. I remember it fondly. A year later, we ended up getting married up in Colorado, and we had a couple of villagers actually drive up or fly up to our wedding. And that was really my first encounter with people from the village. And I just remember really enjoying everyone. And then after we got married, some villagers threw us a little post-wedding shower here at the building. This was in 2011, so we were in this building. And I just remember, people being very kind, and just, seeing Michael and Ron Lehman, who was one of his college roommate, and they came to the village together, seeing them interact and just really being impressed by the reality, I guess, or the authenticity of the community, and that people could come as they are, and there wasn't like this expectation that you had to be someone you weren't. So our last year of marriage, we still weren't done with school, so we went up to Boulder to finish our last year of school, and we were talking about where we wanted to go after we both graduated in 2012, and I suggested to Michael, why don't we move to Tucson? I think that the village played a really important part in your life. I'm really interested in getting to know more about that community, and so he was a little hesitant at first, but because he really loved Colorado. He hates the heat. So I'm from Texas originally, so I'm not afraid of the heat. So we ended up deciding after a fair amount of praying to go ahead and take the plunge. Neither of us really had jobs, to move to Tucson to be a part of the village, and that was in May of 2012. And then we started going, and we were here already in this building, but Michael had told me about how things were pretty different because he left for Colorado pre-purchase of the building. So he was explaining to me how it used to be, and I really love the building. I think it's great. I was really impressed by the couches, and it just felt very comfortable. And I'm the kind of person that I'm a lawyer, so I'm pretty type A, and I'm always about controlling situations and being prepared and having plans, and I think the village allowed me to kind of let go of some of that stuff, to just come and sit and relax and sit in God's presence. And I think that was something that I really struggled with, just at being still. And I started becoming a part of pilgrim group and monastic communities. And my type A personality at first was like, when people would say, oh wow, that sounds like a really hard feeling, or, oh yeah, God's asking me to sit in this feeling for a season. And I was like, what? I was like, I need to solve my problems now. And now, and I think God has spoken to me over the years that that's actually where freedom is to sit, that you don't have all the answers, that you don't have the control, and that you can just sit in your brokenness, you can sit in your sadness, in your grief. I've learned a lot about grieving different aspects of life, not just necessarily a person, but a period of time, or just the changing of seasons. And so that's been a really important part of what I've learned through the village. I think that too, kind of being the one person at the village is how, I struggled with that question. I think probably a lot of people have struggled with that question, but for me, at first I came and I was Michael's wife, because a lot of people that were still at the village knew Michael, and so I was just Michael's wife. And I kind of hid behind that identity, I think, for a little bit, and then people started knowing me as Ashley, and not just an extension of my husband, which obviously I kind of like him, so I'll keep him around. But to be known individually, I feel like, and identifying my own strengths and kind of gaining some confidence in myself, and finding my voice, I think, has been something that's really been brought out through my time spent at the village. One of the really cool things that Michael and I have both really enjoyed about the village is community, and not just community at the church building, but where you live. So when I first moved here, we rented a house that wasn't too far from the church building, and then when a couple years later we decided we wanted to buy a house, and there was this house that I didn't want to look at, but Michael, because it didn't have a dishwasher, and I had lived in Colorado with no dishwasher and I never wanted to do it again. So, but this house was right across the street from Eric, Sue, Julie, and Keith's house, and Michael said, we have to look at it. And I said, oh, it doesn't have a dishwasher. I don't know if I could live without a dishwasher. And Michael says, we can put a dishwasher in the house. So we look at it. He's like, Ashley, this is a great house. because if we've ever gone real estate hunting in Tucson, you know that there's lots of really weird houses out there that have random rooms added on that don't make sense. And he's like, this house was totally normal. We can put in a dishwasher. I know the spot. So we put in an offer, and it turned out to be a bit of a bidding war. And this was back in 2014 before the market got too crazy. But we went all in, and we put as high as we felt like we could go, and we got the house. And so now one of the really special parts of this community is that we live across the street from, kind of the hub, the village hub. So we call ourselves the Seneca Annex because we're annexed on Seneca Street. And just having people over at our house, we recently redid our front yard, and we've really tried to be more of a presence in our neighborhood. And I feel like, our neighbors have really responded well to that. During the pandemic, we built a patio out in our front yard because we had been sitting in our driveway with Eric and Sue and some of our other friends during the pandemic to at least get some social interaction, socially distanced outdoors. And it was really a great time to, wave at our neighbors, and people were really longing for community last year, and those relationships have continued all by sitting out in our front patio. So I think that the village has really shown me that physically where you live is really important too, and that you can really make a big impact in your neighborhood. And so Michael's secret plan is to have villagers just buy all the houses in and around our Seneca Street and really enjoy life together that way.
Oh, well, there was also a Faux Restaurant that we were supposed to go to. Did we even go to the Faux Restaurant?
And yes, we did.
Okay. Yes.
And it's decent.
She talked it up.
I was really excited about it, and then it was
so.
Michael was like, what is this?
Well, because we were also, no, we weren't quite vegetarians.
No, we didn't become vegetarians until after we started officially dating.
It was kind of like not that great of food.
Yeah, I had remembered it better in my head, maybe because I was like in the car all day and I was like wanting some like warm, comforting soup, and just wasn't.
Yeah, we drove a long way to get to that pho place. And it was, I enjoyed driving with her, but the pho was